Hey, welcome to Late Night with Larry. I'm your host, Larry D, here with my co-host, Vince. Vince, give me a shout out.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Larry D Studios here in beautiful New Mexico.
That's right. We're here doing it once again. But before we get started, we want you to hit that subscribe button right there below you. Yeah, right there.
Hit it.
That's right. That's what she said. Anyway, we're going to stay on our favorite topic tonight, a little bit the Sasquatch topic. And, last time we went into a rabbit hole, but we'll see where we go this time.
Yep. Ain't nothing wrong with rabbit holes.
That's right. We just recently went up to the Jemez Mountains to see if our favorite squatching spot was open.
Right. But before we continue, we forgot our
traditional shot to you.
Our traditional vaccine.
That's right. Here's to you, people.
You guys, thank you for listening.
Oh yeah, that one's a Johnson & Johnson, one and done.
You think they're going to figure out that's just Kool-Aid?
Yeah, they will. Eventually they will. So like we were saying, last night we took a drive up to the Jemez Mountains, and we usually do that around this time of year to see if they've opened up the forest roads and to gauge and see, when we can go up there and start our squatching.
Right.
And we went up there last night, and it was a dry run because they had that place locked up tight.
Right, but last week we also had a pretty good snowstorm here in New Mexico, and there's still quite a bit of snow up in those mountains, and they keep those roads locked up for a reason during the winter. Now they're pretty tough when they're dry, even with a four-wheel drive vehicle.
They are, and I could
where
see,
we go,
right,
anyway.
right, and I could see that people that would possibly go out there and without having knowledge of what those roads are, would go on just a regular car and they'd get stuck.
They get stuck bad.
And there'd be problems. Right.
Now, even if you have a four-wheel drive vehicle, if you slide off the road, you're going to run into trouble.
You got that right. Yep. But we were up there last night and we didn't get to go to our spot because it was locked up, but we did cruise around where we could and looking for activity, hoping that we'd get a sighting, maybe get one run by us or, run across the road. So
right.
We spent some time up there and tried several different roads, but it seemed like everything was...
They were all dead ends.
Dead ends, blocked off, locked up. So anyway, it was a good time,
Right. It's always nice to get away, go up into the mountains. That's one of our favorite spots. And for other reasons other than the squatching, it's just nice to get out of the city, disconnect a little. And
right. And
but of course, while we're out there, might as well do some squatching, huh?
Might as well.
Now cruising around along the road, there's still a lot of snow. There was various tracks going up the hills and stuff. We didn't stop to investigate because, some you could tell were deer, some were bigger. Were they human or not? I don't know. One thing we did discuss is when we find tracks in snow, it's really hard to determine. Because if they're more than a day old with snow melt or whatever, melt and freeze, it's easy for them to get distorted and lose all their, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, we're looking the validity of
or their... just the impressions and stuff.
Right. Yeah, if you come across it may look like a...
Detail. That's
yes,
what I'm
detail. It may look like a big print, but, who knows how much... It could have
started as a small one.
Right, because the snow melt and whatnot. But.
Right, and now there's a lot of debate, like some of these Bigfoot tracks, they could be confused for bear tracks, because a lot of times they'll step paw into paw, so...
Right.
But... if you look close, you could see where the round of both paws. So
right, yeah. If you look close, you could usually differentiate and say, yeah, that's a bear.
And if you look a lot at look at the genuine Bigfoot tracks a lot, I believe on the outside of the foot, is it, or the inside?
Inside,
where they have the metatarsal bones.
Right. Yeah.
And if you see a lot of prints with a lot of detail, you could see those bones. So which you won't have in a bear track.
No, a bear track's just going to be like one big... It looks like a big print, but it's just, the bear stepping.
Right, and if you look close in the front where the toes should be, The toes will usually be a little bit shorter, and they'll have claw marks.
You'll see the claws. Yeah, that's one thing that you usually see, the claws where they dig into the dirt and whatnot.
Right.
And on a Squatch print, you can definitely see the toes. I mean,
and if it's a good print, you could see dermal ridges.
right? Yeah, and we know they're up there. There definitely are. We went cruising around toward the Los Alamos side to see, and because we've been told. How true it is, we don't know. No one wants to verify it, but we've been told that there's a section of land by the lab out there in Los Alamos that's been like set aside for them, where you can't get through that to that land. No access, and that's kind of like a sanctuary for them.
Right. For anyone who's familiar with this part of New Mexico, it's up around the Valles Caldera.
Right. And we were talking about that last night, saying, well, if this is the area where there's a sanctuary, nothing's gonna hold these creatures. And even the fence they have, these creatures are just gonna step over that or
knock it down. But I think the fence is more to keep us out.
I think you're right there. It's not for them, it's for us. They don't want us back there being nosy like we already are. But it was a good time. Once they open up, we'll probably go and do some heavy squatching. I'm thinking, we're talking about getting us a trailer so that we could spend some time out there and just see what happens.
I know you see these documentaries where they go squatching and they hike up in the mountains and they take their tent, this and that, and that's a good idea. But two reasons we don't do that. The first is pretty obvious. We're getting pretty old, so sleeping on the floor is getting old.
Oh yeah, we did that. Last 2 years ago?
Oh man, we've done that. Actually, we've done that our whole life.
Yeah, our whole life. But when we went this last time and we spent like 3 days up there, sleeping on that ground just tore me up.
Right, and I think a lot of times you can't go find the Squatch. I think if they'll come to you.
They do. Now, on that point, let's talk about when you're out there and you're camping, minding your own business, not intentionally looking to have a Squatch interaction, but you do. What do you think attracts these creatures to like a camp?
I think it's just the sound of the families. Right. I think children are a big thing.
Right. I mean, we talk about your encounter and you had the young girls with you.
Right.
And I'm thinking that played into attracting them toward your campsite.
Close. They came in very close.
Right.
Now, when we go out there, we've always have some kind of encounter, some kind of a noise, something we can't explain.
Right.
Now, it's not as far as distance, it's not as close as I experienced my first time, but it's close enough. We could definitely, it'll get you shaking in your boots when they give them yells.
And it makes you think, what's really up here? It does. And like we've said, we've been up there many times and we've had activity. We've heard things that just can't be explained. And like we've said, we were the only ones in that area. So
right. Now, I think for us, I think we generally stumbled on a spot that they use the game trail.
Right.
Now, that's one theory that the reason they could sneak in and out is because of the game trails. There's no shrubs or nothing. They could walk quietly there.
And you're right.
And now when they walk off the game trail, that's when you can hear them. And I'm guessing when you hear them, they want you to hear them. They're sending you a message.
I think you're right on that because so many people have said, after the fact, while we were taking video and pictures and we didn't even realize they were there until we looked close at the picture or the video.
Right.
So, and everyone does say they're stealthy. So if they want you to hear them, they're going to let it be known. Other than that, I don't think you'd hear them. I think they'd go about their business. And
right. Now, how many times have we been out there and maybe they've walked past us and we don't even know?
Who knows?
But then again, we always seem to hear something.
Right.
Now, I talked to a few people about our experiences when we go up there camping and stuff, and everyone tells me the same thing. Maybe they're getting used to you being there.
They could be. I mean, we go to that same spot over and over and over. And, of course, there's other campers out there, but, they say it's these two idiots again.
Right. And while the majority of the time there's really nobody close to us. Once in a while, we'll get someone close to us. Usually they're down further by the lake.
Right. Yeah, they usually stay by the road, by the lake area, and we like to venture a little further back off the road because it seems like that's where you'll have most of your luck. I mean,
Right.
these creatures ain't going to hang out by the road and risk being seen by every person driving by.
Right. And not only that, they... I think they know enough about humans. They want to keep their distance. You know, they don't want no beef.
Right.
I mean, you hear stories about how they've tangled with ranchers, maybe got a cow or something, and the ranchers hunt them.
Right.
You know, so they're like, they don't want no beef. You know, they just want to do their thing.
They just want to live their life. And I think we're in such a good area because of, like you said, the game trail. That game trail goes down through the area where we are, and it possibly goes all the way to the lake.
Yeah, and then in the other direction, it could go all the way to their sanctuary.
That's right.
Now, it's a good distance, a few miles from where the sanctuary, where we think it is. Now, we're not even sure about where the boundaries are.
Right.
This is all speculation, stories we've heard.
Right. And so from where we're at, it's at least 15, 18 miles to where supposedly the sanctuary is at. And, like people have said, when they've seen these creatures could cover some ground and do it fast.
Right.
So,
Now, one theory I've heard, and it makes sense, is the ones we see might be the hunting party.
They may be.
Or the scouts or something.
I don't know. It could, because they usually say the scouts are the ones that are awake in the day, protecting the clan, looking, if you have an encounter in the day, the theory is you saw a scout, and the hunters and, the rest of them, they get up and do their business at night.
Right.
Now, is that true? We don't know. It's there again. It's all speculation and theory.
Now we've heard noises during the day before. Now, how about this theory? Now, I'm sure they could cover that 15, 20 miles in a night, but what if they don't? What if they search an area? What if they stalk the prey? And you've seen on documentaries the nests.
Right, I have.
They could bed down during the day, and what we hear sometimes during the day is the scouts.
Right.
Just, watching the ones sleeping.
Right, and that's possible. I've always said if I was younger and in better shape, I would definitely hike those mountains in the day just to see what we come across, but that's some pretty rough terrain, and I'm not a young man anymore.
We're far from it, actually.
Right, but I do wonder what is out there. Now we've drove the area, and we know that there's a road miles above, but you got to drive. It's a long drive to come out to that road. So there's a lot of I want to say uncharted forest that that I don't think anyone's really hiked or been through.
Even the last time you and I went in my pickup during the day, that road we took was pretty unforgiving. There was spots where there was trees. I don't want to say they were knocked down. I want to say they were placed there.
Yeah, I mean,
because there's no roots, And,
right, because usually when a tree falls, you see where it fell from, but these were logs placed in the road, like someone's definitely saying, "End of the line for you."
Right.
You don't go no further.
And that's that time we saw that pile of bones that was stacked up. If an animal dies, their bones are spread out.
Right.
Or the scavengers will take them. This was a set of bones stacked.
And what's that all about? I know there's no young kids out there that are playing in the forest stacking bones like that, or even hikers. But that was an interesting find, and it makes you think, what's out here? And I have a good idea what's out there, but was that done by them? We come across so many crazy things that it's hard to explain.
Right. They are hard to explain. And the more we go out there, the more we're learning. We're still just learning on the fly like everyone else.
Right.
Now, you see these documentaries, these so-called Bigfoot experts. I don't believe there's an expert in the field because
I agree.
Nobody just knows enough about them. And
No. I tend to agree with that. There's people that may have had several encounters through their life, but there's no expert because no one's been a Jane Goodall and lived among them to find out how they truly live. So, it's all theory for us. And but we know these creatures exist. There's just far too many sightings worldwide, not just in New Mexico or Texas or Kentucky, or worldwide. These creatures, everyone sees them in the forest. So how can it be a mass illusion or a mass lie?
Right. And growing up, we've always been fascinated by the subject, and we've never really been believers until I had my encounter, and I know beyond the shadow of a doubt what happened. I know what was out there. I know what I saw. I know what I heard. I know what happened. And my children and the other young lady with us knows what happened.
Right.
And then he started going out there with me, and he's heard things that he cannot explain in any other way. So
I can't.
We're more of, we need proof. And we've had enough proof to say, yeah, they're real, they're out there, but we don't have enough evidence to say, we're the authority. No, this is right, this is wrong.
Right.
These creatures are still such a mystery.
Right.
I mean, we know they exist, but we don't know what makes them tick. We don't know why people can't track them.
We want that tangible evidence, is what they say. And here's the thing. A lot of people have gotten hair samples that they found and comes back, well, it was a bear or unidentified. I wonder if some of these testing labs are put on notice by the government that if you get this type of sample and it tests for this is the response you give to the people. Right. Because even watching some of these documentaries, I'm like, there's some pretty good hair samples that they found, and when they analyze it, the color of the hair, the pigment, and everything, it's nothing that we know.
Right. Now, let's think about this as far as the government's concerned. We've had UFO sightings since the beginning of time. I mean, there's cave drawings with UFOs, right?
Right.
We've had several crashes here in New Mexico.
Right.
Now, the government has barely came forward to acknowledge they exist.
Right. They're coming open more and more about that.
Now, Sasquatch, there's been stories, of course, in Native American culture. One of the U.S. presidents, I don't know if it was Roosevelt or whoever.
It was...
Or Eisenhower.
It was Eisenhower.
Well, not the meeting, but they came across one while they were out in the woods hunting or something.
No, that was Roosevelt. Roosevelt.
Okay,
yeah, he wrote in his journal.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Now, but there's been sightings, but it didn't really blow up until the Patterson-Gimlin thing.
Right.
So it's no wonder the government hasn't really stepped forward.
Well, and
they have in certain areas, they've stepped forward without really going public, like what they tell the military.
Well, and we talk about the Patterson-Gimlin film. That's like the pinnacle of evidence that has been caught. That's been scrutinized for how many years? Like 50 years already?
More than that.
Yeah, and they still can't prove that it's a fake.
It was filmed in the late 60s.
67, the year, I won't say that, the year I was born. Oh, well. But yes, that is...
Maybe you were born unto Patty.
Maybe that's my biological mom. Maybe that's why my butt's so hairy.
And that explains a lot.
There you go. But no, seriously, this video has been torn apart by everybody, and no one can say it's a fake.
Right. And now with the new technology, they're finding, they don't know where the original is, but they're finding the first generation copies and stacking them, and it just giving better detail, better pictures.
And I was watching, I think it was the Finding Bigfoot when they had the big festival up in Bluff Creek.
The 50-year.
And how they stacked it to get a better picture.
Yeah, and better detail.
And then someone also removed all the hair from Patty, and they showed, there's breasts, there's the muscles on this creature are massive. So a creature like that, it's no wonder why people said they just ran up the hill like nothing, and these hills are like almost straight up. So having that type of muscle mass, you could pull yourself up.
Right.
I mean, look at a deer. I've seen deer when I've been out hunting, and I've seen a deer go up almost a straight mountain that would take me all day to practically climb and slide down a few times. I've seen them bounce up
few hops.
In 3 bounces, boom, boom, boom. Then you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So amazing.
So I think these creatures have the same capability.
Okay, now you talked a little bit about the Finding Bigfoot, where they had the 50-year anniversary of the Patterson Gimlin film, and
Right.
it was good. It was very interesting.
That was a good one.
I'm glad to see that they're back. I've always liked that show, but you got to take it for a grain of salt because that one was truly for television.
Right.
But they are introducing new technology, and I think it's because they have the new Expedition Bigfoot, and they've really stepped up the game. Now, we've both watched all of season 2, and I was impressed with some of the things. Some of the things, I don't know, maybe for television, but
Right.
they did have some good evidence toward the end.
Well, and you got to always think that, when they do shows like this, it is geared for entertainment, television. They want that viewer to come back week after week so that they get the ratings and they resell the show for another season. So
Right. So if they found Bigfoot in the first season, they're not going to tell you.
that's right. But there's just so many shows out there where everyone's out there looking for this creature. And, some of these sightings, even some of the video, it's genuine and it's good. And some of the best video I see is from amateurs who catch it unexpectedly.
Right. Right.
And to me, that's the best evidence, because these people were just out having a good time and doing what they do. And lo and behold, they catch something.
Right. Now, getting back to the shows, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, I've always found this intriguing. I can't wrap my mind around it yet, but that don't mean it's not true, right. Is the cloaking.
Yeah, I watched a video of cloaking, and this was done in the 80s, and this was through a Japanese military video. And this technology has been around since the 80s. And they showed this Japanese soldier in the forest. And he had this, it looked like kind of a Michael Jackson stage outfit with sequin, shiny and whatnot. But when he activated the cloaking, he did become invisible. And he walked through the forest. You could see the silhouette as he walked. But if you were to see that, you would be like, what am I seeing? It would throw you for a loop. And I said, well, if that Japanese video was done in the 80s, how good is their technology now? And we've always heard that that's one of the reasons that the government was so interested in Squatches, because their hair pigment the way it reflects the sun can make them invisible if they want.
Right.
By the direction that, it's like a dog. If a dog gets mad, his hair could stick up, go down. So, it makes me think that these creatures can cloak.
Right. See, and that's one thing. I'm the kind of guy, I have to really see it to believe it. But on this Expedition Bigfoot, there was one part, I forget what episode it was, but they had the IR, they had a hit across the river, then it kind of just faded away to nothing.
Right.
Now, they did an experiment with a human the next night, and he moved into the bushes. They couldn't see him. He moved out, and his heat signature was there. Now, this Sasquatch could have been behind the bushes.
Could have been.
Because they're bigger, they give off more heat. They got a hit. Maybe he was sitting down. He was there long enough to leave his heat signature on the ground.
Right.
He got up, he moved back, and all they saw was the heat signature he left, and that disappeared.
Could be.
That's just my theory. I just think they could have dissected it, done more experimenting to try to recreate it.
Yeah, I think, but there again, would I have the cojones to, once I see that heat signature, say I'm crossing the river now, there again, you don't know what that big heat signature is. And what if it is an aggressive Squatch that's having a bad day? You're going to have a bad day. Right.
And it don't even need to be having a bad day. What if it's a mama with a baby?
You're in trouble.
Right. Or even worse, what if it's a grizzly?
You're in trouble.
Yeah, but I don't know. I like the evidence they presented, but I think they could have done a better job dissecting it. And
I think so too, but let's keep in mind it's all for television. They need the ratings to keep the show on. But I do think that while they're out there, they do come across when we're out there, they probably have had some experiences that they just can't explain off camera.
Right.
And
now there was one other scene I don't know. I watch a whole season. I binge watched it, so
Right.
I don't know what episode what came, but he was talking about it because there was one in the forest, and he said it charged him. You could hear something,
Right.
Then he started like making noise, trying to scare it off.
Right. Yeah. I remember that episode. Yeah. And these creatures have been known to bluff charge you. I mean, it's their way of saying, look, leave me alone. Don't follow me. Or you may have a bad day. Here's the other thing. I've watched Les Stroud's, what was it, season 7, where he talks about
The Survivor
the
Man.
Survivor Man and his experiences with Bigfoot. Now, I think that man has genuinely had some serious encounters, and he talks about them. And I'm not going to call him a liar because he was out there by himself doing
Right.
his series. And I used to think he went out with the camera crew.
No, he
did
does,
not.
He does his own camera.
He did his own camera. He had GoPros and so I'm like, man, I believe he had some really good encounters.
Right now, he always talks about that encounter he had in Alaska.
Right.
But he's done these little videos like behind the scenes where he's at home, and he'll tell you straight up, the network, you could do this, you can't do that.
Right. And he did say that on one of the, he wanted to show it, and the network said, there's no way that's going to happen. No way.
Right.
And it makes you think, why would not that network would probably blow up, but they'd have all the Sasquatch people watching that program every week, and they'd get millions of additional viewers. But for whatever reason, they said, nope, you're not going to show that. And he did say that.
Right.
They wouldn't allow it.
And that might tie into what we talked about with the government, leaking certain information and blocking other stuff. And they may not want it leaked.
And here's my thing. I don't care. They can't do it forever. We're gonna have, just like UFOs, so many people today are seeing so many sightings, and the government just can't block it anymore. And I think there's gonna come a day where we've encroached on their land so much by development and whatnot that they're gonna get tired of it and just say, look, here we are. That's a boundary. Don't come any further.
Or they're going to start pushing back.
Right, pushing back. And I think we may not live to see that day, but that day, it comes with everything. Just like all the UFO sightings. Nowadays, people know how to look for UFOs, because they can cloak. So you got to use an infrared camera, and you'd be surprised what you see up in the sky.
Right.
And I think it's coming.
Right. I hope it is. I would really like to know what the government knows, because like on that Expedition Bigfoot, they were in Kentucky till he talked to an Air Force guy, and he said the government knows about him.
Right, he did. And he said that they were warned and they were given training.
And then when they were up in Washington, he talked to another, I think he worked for the FBI or something.
Right.
And he said, yes, the government is interested in the cloaking technology.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so we know the government knows about these creatures. I think they even have some bodies and whatnot, but it's hard for them to reverse engineer nature.
Right. Now, here's another theory. You know how the tracks disappear or they just appear?
Right.
Now, one thing I saw on the show was pretty interesting is the tracks coming out of the river.
Right.
Now, do they walk in the river as much as possible to not to leave tracks, or when there's no one around, they don't have to be stealthy, they're not hunting?
Right.
Do they walk in the shrubs?
I don't know, but I do think they stay by the waterways because of the protein in the waterways.
Yeah, and protein in the waterways, and if they're predators, all their prey has to come and drink.
That's right, of course.
And now there's the theory of how the tracks just disappear. We've talked about this before. Now, cloaking is one thing, but going to another dimension is something totally different.
Right. The interdimensional theory, that I'm kind of hard sold on that, because I believe these creatures are flesh and blood.
Right, but there's other people who swear by it. So I mean, who are we to
I'm not going to call their bluff. I'm not going to say they're lying. But like you said, we want that tangible evidence.
The proof is in the pudding.
So if we were ever to see it, then I would apologize for my...
and we'll come and tell you about it.
Oh, that's right. I would definitely apologize for my misconception about that theory.
When they track them and their tracks disappear, there's got to be other explanations. Maybe there's got such a big stride. Maybe they're kind of jogging and they jump into the bushes.
Well, and I've thought about that because even when they walk, they have such a big stride. What if they started running a little and bouncing from rock to rock to rock?
Or they're primates.
Right.
I mean,
the trees.
Why can't they jump on a tree and jump to the next and then get off somewhere totally different?
They can, and that would throw you off. You would just, you lose it, And here's my thing. Whenever they say, like on these shows and documentaries, when they bring in the best bloodhounds to track them, these dogs go cold and they want nothing to do with this trail.
Right, like in Kentucky.
Right.
That bloodhound was tracking one up the hill, and
then it stopped. It said,
he
nope.
got to a point. He started crying. He wasn't going any further.
He's like, nope, I know what's up there, and you can't make me go. You go if you want, but take me back.
Yeah, I think these dogs are probably smarter than us.
Probably. I mean, yeah, humans, we have intelligence, but we may not be the smartest creature on the planet.
Right, and our curiosity.
That's what kills the cat.
Right, but satisfaction brings them back.
That's right. I hope you got that.
Yep.
Anyway, that's what we wanted to share with you tonight. This wasn't much of a rabbit hole. It was the topic of Sasquatch, and just letting you know we're gearing up for our Sasquatch season,
right.
And we're hoping that they open up. So far they haven't, but we'll keep checking.
And we'll let you know what we find.
That's right. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. And we appreciate you. Yeah.
You.
That's right, people. This one's for you. Thanks for listening.
Peace. Out.